The gravel of the St. Clair Academy alumni parking lot crunched under 1,000 different tires, a sound like muted applause for the returning heroes and ghosts of our youth. From the passenger seat of my best friend Leo's sensible sedan, I watched them. The men in their slightly too tight suits, the women shrieking and air-kissing, their laughter a sharp, familiar weapon that still, after 10 years, could make me flinch. This was my 10-year high school reunion. A ritual of vanity and validation I had sworn I would never attend. "You sure about this, Chloe?" Leo asked, his voice gentle. He knew the scars this place had left. He'd been the one to pick up the pieces. Before I could answer, a low, guttural roar cut through the chatter. A car, the color of fresh blood, slid into the parking lot. A Ferrari. A 488 Spider, if I wasn't mistaken. It moved with a predatory grace, purring to a stop right in front of the main entrance, in a spot that wasn't really a spot, demanding everyone's attention. All conversation stopped. All heads turned. The driver's door opened upward, like a wing. And out I stepped. I'm Chloe. Chloe Reed. At 28, the person stepping out of that car was a stranger to the girl who had graduated from this place. My black dress was simple, elegant, and cost more than my entire high school wardrobe combined. My posture, once perpetually hunched to make myself smaller, was now straight and assured. I smoothed my dress and looked directly at the stunned crowd, my gaze landing on a trio of women frozen near the door. Jessica, Samantha, and Brooke. The A-list. The Valkyries. The girls who had made my senior year a living hell. Jessica's mouth was actually hanging open. Samantha was squinting, as if trying to reconcile the woman in front of the Ferrari with the memory she had filed away. Brooke's smile was a brittle, confused crack in her perfectly made-up face. A decade ago, they had reduced me to tears in this very courtyard. They had told me I was nothing, that I would always be nothing. I gave them the same small, cool smile I'd been practicing in the mirror. It wasn't a smile of friendship. It was a smile of arrival. The silence was my applause, the betrayal wasn't a single event. It was a slow, meticulous social execution. My senior year was supposed to be my year. I was a straight-A student, a dedicated artist, and after a growth spurt and finally ditching my braces, I was starting to feel visible. For a glorious, naive 2 weeks, I was. Jessica, the queen bee, had even smiled at me in the hall. The accomplices were her 2 lieutenants, Samantha, the gossip columnist, and Brooke, the fashion police. They were a single, vicious entity. The inciting incident was the winter formal. I'd spent months saving up for a deep emerald green dress. It was the first thing I'd ever bought that felt truly me. I felt beautiful. And for a few hours, I was. I danced. I laughed. A boy from my AP history class, Jason, spent most of the night talking to me. Then, I went to the bathroom. I heard their voices before I saw them, their reflections sharp and cruel in the infinite mirror. Such a pity, Jessica was saying, reapplying her lipstick. She actually thinks she looks good. That dress is a tragedy, Brooke sneered. I think I saw a tablecloth at the country club with the same pattern. And the way she was throwing herself at Jason? Samantha added with a theatrical shudder. So desperate. He only talked to her because we dared him to. $50 to see if the scholarship girl could even form a complete sentence. The world tilted. The laughter that followed wasn't just laughter, it was a scalpel, dissecting my confidence, my hope, my very sense of self. I locked myself in a stall until I heard them leave, their giggles echoing off the tiles. That was just the beginning. The trust I'd naively placed in the idea of a fresh start was exploited and weaponized. They started a rumor that I'd cheated on a chemistry test, leading to a humiliating meeting with the principal. They accidentally spilled a smoothie on my art portfolio for my college applications, ruining a semester's worth of work. They created a fake social media profile in my name, filled with pathetic, attention-seeking posts. Every day was a new humiliation. They made me a ghost in my own life, a cautionary tale whispered in the hallways. I ate my lunches in the library bathroom stall. I stopped raising my hand in class. I became invisible, just to survive. The final blow came when my top-choice art school, which had been wavering due to the damaged portfolio, rejected me. The acceptance letter to a perfectly good state school felt like a consolation prize, a monument to my failure. They had stolen my senior year. They had very nearly stolen my future. I went to college a shell of myself. The first year was a blur of anxiety and isolation. But then, in a digital art class, something clicked. The pain, the anger, the feeling of being an outsider, it all found an outlet on the screen. I discovered I had a talent for character design and world building. Not just a talent, a voice. My art, born from a place of deep emotion, had a rawness that resonated. I stopped trying to forget high school. Instead, I used it as fuel. Every snide remark, every mocking laugh, every tear I'd cried became a log on the fire of my ambition. I worked while my classmates partied. I taught myself complex coding for game design. I lived on instant noodles and determination. Leo, who I'd met in a computer science class, was my only confidant. He saw my drive and believed in me when I didn't always believe in myself. They were just kids in a fishbowl, Chloe, he'd say. The ocean is waiting. After graduation, we didn't look for jobs. We started a company. Ethelgard Studios. It was a crazy risk. We worked out of his garage, surviving on caffeine and a shared, furious dream. The stakes were everything. My dignity. My future. Proof that their version of me was a lie. The symbolic gesture was the reunion invitation. It arrived a year ago, a glossy, smug piece of cardstock. Most people would have thrown it away. I pinned it to my vision board. Right next to a picture of a Ferrari. The turning point didn't happen at the reunion. It happened 6 months prior, in a sterile conference room in Silicon Valley. We were pitching Ethelgard Studios, and our first game, Echoes of the Faded, to a group of stone-faced venture capitalists. The game was a fantasy RPG, but its heart was the story of an outcast who finds her power in a world that tried to erase her. I was the creative director. This was my pitch. I stood before them, and for a moment, I was back in high school, feeling small and judged. But then I looked at Leo, who gave me an encouraging nod. I thought of Jessica's smirk. And my voice didn't waver. I presented our world, our characters, our business model. I spoke with a passion and authority that came from a place of truth. I wasn't the scholarship girl begging for scraps. I was Chloe Reed, CEO and visionary. At the end of the presentation, the lead investor, a famously hard-to-please man, smiled. "Ms. Reed," he said. "That was one of the most compelling visions I've heard all year. We're in." The term sheet they offered was beyond our wildest dreams. 8 figures. Life-changing money. The moment the wire transfer hit our business account, I didn't call my parents. I didn't go out for champagne. I walked to my laptop, opened a browser, and went to the website of a luxury car dealership. I found the red Ferrari. And I clicked purchase. It wasn't just a car. It was a suit of armor. It was a message in a language they would understand. It was my envelope moment, delivered not with a piece of paper, but with $495,000 of Italian engineering. The reunion was a blur of forced smiles and stunned double takes. I moved through the crowd, a gracious ghost. People who had never spoken to me were suddenly eager to catch up. I was polite, but distant. The prize wasn't their approval, it was their shock. I found them, of course, huddled near the bar, their confidence visibly shaken. Jessica recovered first, her queen bee instincts kicking in. "Chloe Reed," she said, her voice a saccharine drawl. "My goodness. What a dramatic entrance. I almost didn't recognize you." "People change," I said, taking a sip of my club soda. "That's quite a car," Brooke said, her eyes raking over my dress, trying to find a flaw. "Rental places have really stepped up their game." I smiled. "I find ownership is so much more satisfying, don't you? No one to give it back to." Samantha, the gossip, couldn't help herself. "So, what is it you do again, Chloe? I heard you were freelancing." The pause was deliberate, implying I was unemployed. This was the moment. The anger, the manipulation, the begging were all there, just under the surface of their fake smiles. "I run a company," I said, my voice calm. "Ethelgard Studios. You might have heard of our game, Echoes of the Fated? It just crossed 10 million downloads." The number hung in the air between us, sucking out all the oxygen. Jessica's smile tightened into a grimace. Brooke looked like she'd been slapped. "You?" Jessica finally managed. "You're the one behind that." "But, how?" "It's amazing what you can accomplish," I said, leaning in slightly, "when you stop wasting energy on making other people feel small. It frees up so much time to build an empire." The manipulation came next. "Chloe, high school was so silly, wasn't it?" Jessica said, her tone shifting to one of false nostalgia. "We were all just kids. I always knew you were smart. We should totally get lunch. I'd love to pick your brain about the tech world." The begging was unspoken but clear in her eyes. "Validate me. Let me into your new world. Make what we did okay." I looked at each of them, Jessica desperately trying to maintain control, Samantha, already calculating the social capital of knowing me, Brooke, utterly lost without her fashion-based hierarchy. "I don't think so, Jessica," I said softly, so only they could hear. "My calendar is very full. Building that empire, you know." I saw the realization dawn in her eyes. Their power was an illusion, confined to these hallways. My power was real, and it was everywhere. Their downfall wasn't financial or legal, it was social and existential. They were forever the mean girls from high school. I was Chloe Reed, who had transcended it. Later, by the photo booth, Jason, the boy from the winter formal, found me. He looked weathered. "Chloe," he said, shoving his hands in his pockets. "Listen, I heard what you said over there. About the dare. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I was a stupid kid trying to impress them. It was a rotten thing to do." I looked at him, this man clinging to his faded glory, and felt nothing but a faint pity. "It's okay, Jason. It was a long time ago." "Is it?" he asked, genuinely. "What they did to you, what we all let happen. It made me who I am," I said, and I meant it. If I'd had an easy senior year, I might be the one over at that bar, trying to relive it. He nodded, understanding the profound truth in that. The people who peak in high school are often the ones who never leave. I had to be forced out. Other classmates, the silent majority who had watched but never intervened, came up to me that night. Not to beg, but to congratulate me, with a newfound respect in their eyes. I had done what they had all secretly dreamed of, I had escaped, and I had come back victorious. There was no single, dramatic collapse. There was a slow, quiet deflation. I watched them throughout the night. Their little group, once the vibrant center of every room, became a sad, isolated island. People were more interested in talking to me, the novelty, the success story. Their jokes fell flat. Their gossip seemed petty and small. The currency they had traded in, looks, status, cruelty, was worthless here, in the real world. The reunion was supposed to be their victory lap, a confirmation that they were still on top. Instead, it was their funeral. The social hierarchy they had worshipped was a ghost, and I was the one who had finally exorcised it. The poetic justice was perfect, the invisibility they had forced upon me was now their own. They were the ones who didn't matter anymore. I left the reunion early. The validation was complete, and the air in there was stale with nostalgia and regret. I met Leo back at the Ferrari. He was leaning against it, grinning. "So," he asked. "Was it everything you dreamed of?" I looked back at the glowing windows of the school, then at the beautiful, powerful machine in front of me. I thought of my company, my team, the life I had built with my own 2 hands. "It was better," I said, sliding into the driver's seat. The leather sighed in welcome. "But you know what? This," I said, gesturing to the car, "the night, the future, this is everything I dreamed of." That was just closure. I started the engine. The roar was a promise. We didn't look back, they told me I was nothing. So I built something they could see from space. The best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting ahead. So far ahead that the people who hurt you become nothing but specks in your rearview mirror. If you believe in turning pain into power, make sure to comment and subscribe for more stories of incredible comebacks.